SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Come see your locally owned and operated Linton Glass for all your glass needs. No matter what glass you need to replace, you can count on Linton Glass. Call us today at 601-835-4336 or find us on the web at lintonglass.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy.
Good morning and welcome to SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm Linda Allen, filling in for Richard Cross this morning. Lance joining me in the booth there, directing, I guess we call it traffic this morning. How are you this morning?
I'm glad there wasn't that much traffic, this morning. I usually hit a few red lights. Today was one of those days.
You hit a couple of red lights early this morning?
Yeah, it just, when you come across the spillway, they've got you. You're a captive audience. They want you to see all those red lights at times. But no, it just slows things down. So yeah, I'm working traffic this morning.
Well, it sounds good.
Yeah, but it's muggy.
It is very sticky out.
Man.
I have basically humid hair today. It grew by volumes this morning. Not enough hairspray in the world to try to keep it down, but it is humid. And, we are preparing and bracing ourselves for some potentially bad weather in the next two days, starting tonight and into tomorrow morning. According to the National Weather Service, we kind of need to be on the lookout starting later this evening. We're looking at the coast right now, a marginal risk of problems. We're looking at winds could be as high as 60 miles an hour, maybe some hail.
Ooh, hail.
Yeah, they're saying possibility of hail. But keep in mind now, of course, you never know. We have to keep a close eye on it. But they're calling it a marginal risk on the coast. So what does that mean? Well, when you talk about a marginal risk, they look at 1 through 5, right? So 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Right now, the potential for bad weather coming up starting tonight around 9 o'clock or so and going into early tomorrow morning around 4 in the morning. They're looking at about a 1 or a 2. So not severe at this point. And then the slight level goes up from there. If you take the coast and go northern into Mississippi, the rest of the state, we are looking at a slight level of 2 out of 5. That could start a little earlier. They're talking about maybe as early as noon today. And then that would be the northern part of the state. And then if you're looking at the mid part of the state, central Mississippi, we're looking at about 4 p.m. to midnight. So it just depends on how these storms move. If you look at weather radar right now, it is crazy, the storm systems that we're seeing to the north of us and to the northwest of us. And those are all moving and developing. And Lance, as you mentioned, it is so warm this morning. And when you start seeing that, that creates a potential for problems, especially if we're going to hit any kind of cold front coming through that area. So
you're looking at about from Corpus Christi up to Canada on this front that is moving through. We're going to catch obviously the southern portion of that, but you've got snow mix and everything up north on the Canadian-American border, all the way, and severe too, rain as it comes down through the Appalachians, and we're going to get our fair share of that. It looks so, and it looks like we're not going to be able to hide. So wherever you are, what I've noticed doing the weather, there's going to be a lot of wind.
Yeah, and I think, the good thing about it is we are in pollen season, so hopefully it will knock some down. However, we always want to make sure that we don't have severe weather because our residents, they're just struggling. We were talking yesterday a little bit about Tupelo and still trying to recover from that ice storm, and all of the residents up there and business owners that are still waiting on FEMA monies to come through, state dollars to come through, their insurance claims to follow through on that. So our love and prayers to those folks up there that are still struggling with an ice storm as we look at temperatures right now. You look at central Mississippi right now, and it is sticky outside. It is so warm. It feels warmer than it actually is. It's only about 70 in central Mississippi right now. It feels like it's about 80 as sticky, right?
Yeah, and you're going to be seeing temps that are going to be dropping back into the upper 30s and the mid 40s by Friday night. So even Thursday night, you're going to have some 30s in like West Point. And as you go further north in the state, the weather's going to be a little crazy over the next 4 or 5 days, folks. Just prepare for the worst, hope for the best. We've been through it enough already. And, we're getting into the season where the heavy winds, the rain, the tornadoes and things start popping up. It is obviously something to be aware of. And again, Hail? I haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So you never know. And, you talk about the temperature drops. I mean, how crazy is this? So we're looking at averaging around the state. We're looking for in the low to mid to upper 70s between Friday and Sunday. And then overnight into Monday, the high for Monday is in the mid 50s. So when you drop 27 degrees, that is a huge drop. And that's, of course, for potential. So we should be watching into the first of the week as well.
Yeah. Oh, no, into Monday.
Storms distance. Yeah, it could be bad.
We do the gardening show on Saturday, and it's kind of a running joke about this time of year. Every year you go, are we going to get that cold snap? You get that Easter snap. You're probably going to get it. We see it showing itself. I predicted we wouldn't get down into freezing temps again. I think we're going to be tested on that Monday night to my accuracy on my prediction. It looks like around 31 getting down in certain areas Monday night.
Can you believe that?
No, I can't.
That's why just insane.
I like being proved wrong sometimes, but not by Mother Nature,
Well, my birthday is in March, and, I grew up up north, and it was always the Ides of March, in like a lion, out like a lamb, right?
Exactly.
So let's hope that lion is taking a break right now, and we're going to see a little bit more of that gentle lamb coming through. If you're waking up this morning and you're heading to the pumps to fill up your car for the rest of the week, be prepared. Gas prices are still high. For the 11th consecutive day, we are seeing an increase in prices. Right now, we're looking at about 20 cents more a gallon on average since the situation in Iran started. Right now, we're looking at, according to AAA, the national average is running around $3.57. Fortunately, in Mississippi, as usual, we're a little bit lower than that. And in fact, quite a bit lower if you think about it. About $3.11 a gallon. We're talking about a regular gas. And so we're doing pretty well. When I looked at some of the breakdowns of where it was taking place, some of the highest gas prices we're seeing right now are on the coast. And that isn't surprising because of spring break and what's going on. But we're also seeing some higher prices up in the Delta area and parts of northern Mississippi. So be watching the pumps. You can go to Gas Buddy and some other sites to find out where the lowest gas prices are. If you're seeing some low gas prices in your neighborhood, share them with us so we can share them with other friends and let them know. And it's all about what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. You've probably been following this on national news with what is going on. And Lance, what's so interesting about this is we're talking about a section between Iran and Oman, which is about 2 miles wide. It's very narrow. It's very small. It produces this area about a fifth of the world's oil. So it's not all of the world's supply, but it is a big chunk of supply. And it's been very frightening. And what we've been seeing there lately is that we've been talking about all of the ballistic missiles and all the things coming in and all the bombs dropping. But what's happening is that they are actually putting mines on small boats and vessels. So little crafts that you wouldn't expect, they are now putting mines on there, the Iranians are. And according to the U.S. government, we actually destroyed 16 of those Iranian vessels yesterday. And so you think about that. President Trump has been talking about having escorts going through that area. But you got to think about it. If you're thinking about small vessels with mines out there, first of all, you wouldn't want to be in the escort vessel because you're the first one in line, right? But on top of that, how much protection does that really give? And I don't think a lot. And that is pretty scary. Oil was at $120 a barrel on Monday. Fortunately, it has dropped. As of yesterday, prices were at $91 a barrel. So we have seen a drop in that a little bit. Some of that was based upon President Trump's remarks earlier in the week, Monday night, right before the markets closed, that we were going to be seeing an end to this very soon. That's debatable. Others in the White House are even saying, no, this could go on for some period of time. If you don't drive a lot, you think, well, or if you've got an electric car, you think, well, it doesn't really bother me. I don't have to pay for gas prices. Do you know how many things in your home, on your face, or on your body are made with petroleum products? Over 6,000 everyday things that we use are made with petroleum. Now, the list is crazy. I could go on and on, but we're talking about plastics, asphalt in a parking lot or maybe your driveway, fertilizer, medical devices. I didn't even think about this. IV bags if you're in a hospital, prosthetic legs or arms or hands, hearing aids, which I'm about ready for one, I think, at my age. Pill capsules. How many pills did you take this morning? How many do you take in a day? Did you have to take some aspirin because of the election results? Those pill capsules are made with petroleum products. Ladies, and some men, cosmetics on your face, treatments and serums on your face, shampoo, soap, toothpaste. I mean, the list, solar panels, paint, electronics, your phone. I mean, Lance, my gosh, we could spend the next 3 hours just talking about the products made with petroleum. And so I think we're going to see some increases in prices on some of those items in the next, it takes 6 months to a year sometimes to actually see that unfold. Products are already on the market shelves or in stock, but as they have to make new products, that's where we're going to see some problems there. So be prepared, folks. Be patient, be understanding, but be prepared. This is interesting. Did you know that, gosh, it's hard to believe, it's 2026. 6 years ago, COVID-19 was declared a worldwide pandemic. 6 years ago. And some of us, including myself, are still living with post-COVID problems. And so 6 years ago, hard to believe that all started then, and now we're dealing with a completely different situation. We got some good news coming up in the next break. We're going to be taking a look at birthdays. We've got some cool birthdays coming up, Lance. That and more as we continue with Super Talk Mississippi, brought to you by the Element Wealth Studios. I'm Linda Allen, filling in for Richard Cross this morning. Good to have you with us.
Traffic Center.
Morning, partner.
The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Do you have some cowboy coffee to go with that cowboy hat, Lance?
Of course.
For those of you that can't see Lance in the booth, he is wearing his cowboy hat because he told me last night, be prepared, it's Cowboy Wednesday.
Yeah, Country Western Wednesday.
How did that come about, by the way?
I just, given some free reign to do music. Paul always was like, I don't want to touch it. You surprise me. So when Richard came along, I tried to surprise him one day. I didn't know if he really liked country very much. So I just kept playing country music on Wednesday. And I said, we ought to do make this Country Music Wednesday. And he goes, I don't like the sound of that. How about Country Western Wednesday? So it gets kind of stuck after, literally we had worked together for about a month. So it worked out well. And I think our listeners enjoy it too. And we get to play some good old classics and some of the good new bro country.
Yeah, well, you had to educate me yesterday. We were talking back and forth texting yesterday afternoon about country music, and when I started out in radio, I worked for country music stations, and but I grew up with the classics, the George Jones and the Hank Williams. Hank Williams Jr. I actually met and introduced him in concert several times, and he was quite a character.
I bet. See, I love playing some Hank Jr. and Hank Sr.
Yeah, classic stuff, and he stopped loving her today. One of my favorite songs of all time. It just every time I hear it, it's still.
He can get whiskey bent in a certain way bound too. You know, and I love Hank Jr. I grew up with him, and then he hit the big time with Monday Night Football and all of that. Just a really cool guy. And the climbing accident.
Falling off a mountain.
Yeah, fell off a mountain.
Yeah.
And wore the sunglasses after that. I think many folks didn't realize that until you learn about him.
And the beard. He wore the beard to cover the scars. Right. Yeah.
But no, I enjoy. It was funny. Paul used to laugh about this guy that sang that "Rich Men from Richmond" song. And you may not remember the redheaded guy that was out in a field. And it was a few years ago when it came out, and it was a real phenomenon thing because he just kind of recorded it, put it out. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He hadn't really taken off since, but it was really one of those interesting things. So, but yeah, making a point about country music, there's not as many stations as there once were, but there's a lot of really good younger acts. If you like the more rocky country, and then you've got some of the younger acts that really kind of seem to stick to the roots of country, which gives you a nice, it gives you some choices depending on what you like in country music.
Well, I think there's a variety. You know, Patsy Cline. I mean, I think about the old timers and how incredible they were, and the voices. And you know, there wasn't a lot of studio work done. It was just pure voice and instruments. And but I love
session musicians that were were just sitting over waiting for the star to show up, and then they would crush it.
Oh yeah,
Oliver Anthony, thank you.
But I love Stapleton, Chris Stapleton. I love a lot. I love
me
Eric
too.
Church. Some of the country rock. I do love some of that. I know the purists will say, "Shame on you."
I'm going to play Hank Sr. in a minute.
Oh,
folks.
good, good.
Long Gone Lonesome Blues is one of my favorites. It's kind of an obscure one, but it's.
Well, the first time I met him, many moons ago, he was still drinking quite a bit and on stage and falling off of a stool, and then the times after he was sober and just told his story. And a lot of times he would sit on stage and just pick by himself. He'd put the band on a break and he would play with his guitar and he would tell stories, and just a fascinating dude and just incredible music.
Now, were you a Conway Twitty fan at all? Because
I remember Conway Twitty, and we used to take, as part of the station, we used to take people to Twitty City. Do you remember Twitty City in Nashville? Yeah. Conway Twitty City. I don't know if that still exists or not.
I'm not sure. Yeah, he had the greatest Conair hairspray hairdo of all time. Had that look. He always seemed to almost wear like a disco shirt. But he was a cowboy guy. Always liked that.
Oh, listen, the country folks, they love some bling, right? I mean, put on some bling and some studs, and what is that thing called where you you put all this little sequins and all that.
Oh yeah,
like
the rhinestone cowboy.
Yeah, well, yeah. The stud master. But anyway, so that's fantastic. So I love country music. So good for you. I'm glad to hear that. Travis Tritt, Leslie in Grenada says that's her favorite artist.
Oh, they know I love playing me some Travis Tritt now. Joe Diffie and all those guys.
Yeah.
I think my favorite though, just because they remind me of myself, and I think they would be a really cool group to hang out with, is the Kentucky Headhunters. I remember being a young kid and my dad turning me on to them, and it just it brings back nostalgia, but also they're just one of those fun groups.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sawyer Brown. Love Sawyer Brown. Fun groups.
Alabama, when I was a teenager, I was in love with Richard Sturban. He had the bass voice, and he had the big hair, and he was so handsome. Yeah, so, well, great. Well, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about some country music. If you want to hear something in particular, let us know, and we'll try to get it on for you today. Speaking of musicians, I don't know that you have this in your wheelhouse, but and a one, and a two, and a Lawrence Welk was born on this date back in 1903. My grandparents, it was misery when I was a kid and had to go stay with my grandparents on Saturday night when my folks were going out dancing or whatever they were going to go do. And I had to go and sit there and listen to Lawrence Welk. And at the time, oh my goodness. And, Saturday Night Live has done a lot of skits since then about Lawrence Welk and the singers, and it is pretty funny. But Lawrence Welk was born on this date in 1903, so we celebrate him. Rupert Murdoch celebrating a birthday today. He's 95 years old. Another entertainer, Bobby McFerrin. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Don't Worry, Be Happy. That's right.
You got to love I don't remember any other song that he did. I know he did other things, and I know he's well respected as a musician, but that's the one. That's the one that you're still getting the mailbox money on.
I think he was a studio musician, is or was. I don't know if he still is now.
There were a lot of those guys from down there, like Jimmy Cliff and others in that reggae and that that world that were just great musicians.
Oh yeah.
But again, you hit that one hit, and it's like this one guy down there now named Brushy One String.
What?
Yeah, his name is Brushy
Say
One
what?
String, and he's Jamaican. And people come from all over to come hear him, and he literally plays a guitar with one string.
Oh,
and it's like chicken in the corn and the corn won't grow. Chicken in the corn and the corn won't grow. And it's literally hypnotic. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Almost like black soul music.
Yeah. It's very simple but wonderful. And again, his name is Brushy One String.
Brushy One String.
So if you ever go to Jamaica, apparently he's kind of like a cool guy to go check out, and he'll just be playing the guitar
like Don Ho was in Hawaii.
Like
remember Don
Ho?
Ho?
Everywhere running around and
That's so funny. Stephen Pontotoc loves Marty Robbins. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Cool.
You can't forget Marty Robbins, the Grand Tour. Mm-hmm. Some of those songs coming out. Also celebrating a birthday today, Lisa Loeb. I don't know if you remember her from 1968. She had that song "Missed You." She had a couple of hits.
Oh,
but
Musician,
that was about it. Yeah.
I see her name there now. Yeah.
Johnny Knoxville celebrating a birthday
Crazy
today from the movie Jackass. Remember Jackass?
We can say that. No, I'm kidding. I've seen all of them so many times.
I guess I can say it.
No, I'm playing, but I've seen all of them so many times. I remember when they first came out, going, "These guys are all going to die." And they've made it. That's the thing. It's against all odds.
Yeah, I mean, he's what, 56, 54
They've been
today.
stabbed with a bull's horn. I can't tell you how many times, fallen off of everything, banged his head. Dude's a little kooky now, but I mean, all those guys still, though, you imagine being stunt guys.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what they really were. But I mean, taking that concept and putting it mass produced, and they really did a great job with the production and being in the production side. I can't imagine the handful that crew was to work with.
My gosh. No, and you know that there were some alcohol maybe involved and maybe some drugs. A friend of mine, Butterbean, who is known as the 4-round knockout champion, Johnny Knoxville had contacted Butterbean and said, I want you to knock me out. And Butterbean's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And if you actually go on YouTube, you can see the video, and they're in a store, and he hits him a little bit, and Johnny Knoxville's like, no, hit me harder. And Bean pops him in the head and knocks him unconscious in the store. And you can see the employees and the other shoppers just standing there looking because he's on the floor. Johnny Knoxville's on the floor, passed out unconscious with a punch. And so, yeah, they were crazy. They were crazy
those guys, man. Again, I don't know how they made it, but I'm glad they did.
Terrence Howard, the actor, celebrating a birthday today.
Sneaky great actor, too. Really?
Yeah, he is incredible. What was it that he won? The Hustle?
I think so, but I love him in Dead Presidents.
Oh, Dead Presidents.
That's one of his earlier roles. Yeah. Lorenz Tate. What an all-star cast that was. But his role in that was, I think, Cuddy. Yeah, Cuddy.
Yeah, you've had a great memory. I have COVID brain, so my memory is in the tank. But that's good for my husband because then I don't remember anything that he said that aggravated me.
The greatest marriage ever is having a very short memory, right? It's like being
hard of hearing. What?
Like being a defensive back in football. You gotta have a short memory.
Yeah, I think that's probably very much true. But yeah, a lot of great birthdays today. If you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. I hope you have a great day and enjoy that. Some important, interesting things in history today that I thought were kind of fun to share with folks today. The first public basketball game was held today back in 1892 in Springfield, Massachusetts. Wow, that's a long time ago.
No three-pointer and no slam dunks.
No, gosh, no, not at all. Do you remember the movie Quiz Show? Robert Redford directed it.
Love the movie. Very good.
Very good. Up for 4 Academy Awards. Well, this was the date back in 1957 that the character that the movie was based on, Charles Van Doren, lost in the game 21. Now, most of us are probably not old enough to remember that game that aired at the time. Some of you may remember. But it was a fixed game. And do you remember the name of the guy who actually was played by Turturro, who blew it? Who actually was kind of the guy who came in and Herb Temple. Remember? His name sounds like he looked. He looks like a Herb Temple. And he spoiled it for everybody. Rafe Fiennes was in that, which, by the way, he goes by Ralph Fiennes now. His name was Rafe for the longest time. And he said he got so tired of people not pronouncing it correctly, he wanted to go. We'll be right back.
A man needs a...
From theseabrook.com.
Where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, D'Iberville, or any other ville in the SIP. You're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
But don't ask her on a straight tequila night. She'll start thinking about him, and she's ready to fight. Blames her broken heart on every man inside.
Good morning on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Good to have you with us today. This Mornings with Richard Cross, presented to you by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Community Bank, they're moving and doing more than just a place to manage your money. They're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, Community Bank has been rooted in the community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, Community Bank is there to help you every step of the way. Community Bank is dedicated to the customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need them. community bank, rooted in the community, a member of FDIC. For you baseball fans out there, do you remember Bobby Valentine? Bobby Valentine was a former manager for the New York Mets, right? Well, the Mets have come up with a really cool idea for baseball season. The end of this month, we start professional baseball. They are still practicing right now and in training. Most of them in spring training in the Florida area, Arizona, and a couple of other places across the country. Bobby Valentine night, Disguise Night, is scheduled for May 29th. Now, those of you that will go back and remember to 1999, Valentine was ejected from a ball game. They were in the 11th inning of a ball game against the Toronto Blue Jays, and he got kicked out of the game. Well, he was kind of a little bit of a wild guy. So he got kicked out. And then guess what? He showed back up in the dugout wearing a mustache, a fake mustache, and sunglasses. So what they've decided to do is on May 29th, for the first 15,000 fans that come into Citi Field, you'll be able to get, guess what? A mustache and sunglasses. Valentine he took him to the World Series back in 2000. By the way, that game in 1999 that he got kicked out of and then snuck back in. They won the game in the 14th inning. But anyway.
Baseball promotions are the best.
Aren't they fun?
Promotion nights. Yeah.
I just love it. He was fined $5,000. He said he didn't care because look at it now. And as far as he's 75 now. Bobby Valentine is 75. But he said as far as Disguise Night, he is so excited about it and is honored that they're taking a day to pay respects to him.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he showed up at some other things apparently with the disguise because that's kind of become his MO now. So baseball, a big topic in Mississippi.
Yeah, it is. There was kind of a big game last night. I will say, disappointed the Rebs lost, but happy that the Eagles won that one. Somebody had to win a 1-1 tie going into the 10th inning between Southern Miss number 7 and, depending on the rankings, Ole Miss right inside the rankings. Southern Miss comes out on top of that one 2-1 and a walk-off at the end of the game there with a 1 run in the 9th by Southern Miss. Camden Clark gets the win for the Eagles. He's been lights out. J.P. Robertson takes the loss. He goes to 2-1. It was one of those games. I will be honest. I'm an Ole Miss guy. I played baseball up there, and I watched a baseball game last night that was almost absolute perfection between two teams. Both teams, as far as fielding, the game, the calling, just the accuracy of the pitchers, everything was just so on. The atmosphere was huge. Pete Taylor Park was rocking, and the Roost was just packed out. It was one of those atmospheres that you just live for if you're a player. And again, Southern Miss won. They've played a very tough schedule, arguably one of the toughest in the country, probably the toughest in the country at this point. And just a really, really complete baseball team. Ole Miss as well, just couldn't get that key hit. But hey, when you're hot, you're hot. And Tucker Stockman, who has been extremely hot for the Eagles, got a walk-off hit to win that one 2-1. Mississippi State won their game last night against Tulane 11-7 to improve to 15-2. Now the Eagles are going to have Arkansas State this weekend. Ole Miss will travel to Texas, and Mississippi State will have Arkansas in Fayetteville. So a big weekend for all the big programs in the state. But let's not fail to mention Delta State 13-7. They have they will be off playing this weekend as well. Valdosta State University in Valdosta, Georgia. And then we have one of my favorite programs in the world, William Carey Crusaders, up to 17-7 conference. They're 5-1 right now. And they will be taking on Faulkner University in Hattiesburg this weekend. Probably a little wet, but the Crusaders and the doc down there, Dr. Burnett, great people, great university, and always like highlighting them. And the other thing, honestly, I don't know how many people are still paying attention to basketball for Ole Miss right now. State a little bit better, 13-18. They'll have Auburn tonight, and this is the SEC tournament, I believe. So Auburn favored by 7.5. Ole Miss will take on Texas. Ole Miss is 12-19. Texas 18-13. Chris Beard's former school. You can get a ticket for that one at $5.
$5 a ticket.
$5. You can get a gallon of gas and a ticket for $10. Huh? But Ole Miss takes on Texas. Probably. Ole Miss has been so close so many times. It's one of those seasons you just throw it away because you could look back at so many key shots, so many key things in a season that just didn't go the way you wanted. But you were close, and that's the thing. You get back to the drawing board after this tournament. If you get lucky, play all the way through and win it, you may get a chance to keep playing, but that shot is a long one, as they say. It's like throwing the ball in and then taking a shot from the baseline of the other end of the court. That's Ole Miss's chances right now of probably getting into the postseason. State, one game better, but again, these teams can get hot in a tournament. It's just that the SEC is so dang good at times.
Yeah, and that's what's disappointing is that this year looks a little dismal. When you look at the NCAA tournament, I grew up in basketball country, so basketball is a big
your
big
neck
thing.
of the woods, huh?
March 26th to the 27th will be the Sweet 16 tournament, which is going to be coming up. Games are going to be broadcast on CBS, TBS, and True TV. It follows the round of 32, which you've been talking about, winners advancing to the Elite Eight, which will be March 28th through 29th, and then we go into the Final Four in April. So I love basketball season.
And the ladies, too. Ole Miss ladies, they made it to the semifinal round, if I'm correct on this, of the SEC tournament, lost to Texas 85-68. Then Texas played South Carolina, who had beaten LSU for the championship there. And I believe Texas won that one 78-60, 61, something like that. But Texas wins the ladies' version of the SEC tournament. The boys are playing now. And so Ole Miss had a great season, though, when it came down time. Coach Yo and those, they've been hot, Ole Miss ladies. So they'll be playing themselves into, and hopefully, an opportunity as well to keep playing and keep playing for another month or so. That's the whole goal, isn't it? To be the last one standing. I remember that Ole Miss baseball team that was the last one in to the NCAA tournament a handful of years ago, ended up going all the way and winning a national championship. So if you just get in, you just got to get into that postseason.
Yeah, you just got to get in there and have a couple of really great games and good plays. And it is tough for those that don't make it because they put their hearts and souls into them. And we're seeing so much advancement with women. I mean, it looks, and it's starting to catch on. And I think it's starting to catch on because families are taking the young girls to these games and getting the young girls excited, and then they want to play ball. And they're starting so young. I have a granddaughter who's 5, and she just turned 6. She's playing second grade level basketball. That's how good she is. And so you start them really young. The risk, though, is burnout. If you were an athlete, I was an athlete, you know that by the time, if you play from the time you're 5 or 6, which I swam at a very early age competitively, by the time I was at college level, I was so burned out.
Oh, man, I was not at all. I mean, it was like the movie The Program when Omar Epps keeps fumbling. The coach gives him a ball and says, "Don't ever drop it again. Carry it everywhere." That was me. Everywhere I went. And I would say even through college, I always had a baseball with me, a football, something. If there wasn't a ball to throw or to hit, I was, restless, to be honest with you. That was the one thing that just I was fortunate my dad had gotten. We went and when I was a kid, he had some friends down in Louisiana, and they got a shrimp net. And so we made a batting cage out of it and had an old pitching machine.
You made you took a shrimp net and made it. How ingenious.
Oh, yeah. Back then, it was
so
you
cool.
just figured stuff out. So I remember when that thing showed up on a trailer and we unrolled it and we started putting it up and making the batting cage. I was like, man, I'm going to live in here. And I was little, too. And one of our friends gave us an old arm pitching machine. And I sat out there for hours upon hours upon hours. And we'd have to mend that net. I'd hit it through it and all. I mean, it was just such great times. But, I mean,
so
if you love it, you love
sewing
it.
skills as well,
yeah,
right?
man, if you love it, you love it. And I was one of those. Yeah, I had to take a year off in college. I transferred, so that prevented the burnout, really. But it was a wonderful experience. I love sports, but not for the lessons it teaches you, not for the money that you make at it, but really just the competitiveness, the put the pedal down and give it all you got. Making friends and all that good stuff. So it's always, I love this time of year too because you get the rainouts, and if you're at a baseball game and you'll see young men become kids again when the tarp goes out on the field, and both teams, they know they're not going to get to play. Two teams that have been heavy at each other, for a couple days. Then all of a sudden, they all take the spikes off and they go out and run around the field and slide around like kids again. Again, that's one of the wonderful things about sports that I love is, just being a kid, enjoying it.
And the memories of that. I can remember my dad and my grandfather taking me to baseball games in Chicago and Indianapolis, in minor league in Indianapolis. And the mix was fruit jellies and peanuts in a bag, and you shake them up so it's salty and sweet. And then a hot dog. Not a
Don't
beer.
get me going on concession food in Mississippi,
I
man.
know.
We have high school football. That's one of our great
memories.
times. The Kool-Aid pickles and everything. Come on now.
You're listening to Super Talk Mississippi. It's the day after election primaries in the state. We're going to have more on the results coming up. Some not too surprising. That and more here on Super Talk Mississippi from the Element Wealth Studios. I'm Linda Allen filling in for Richard this morning.
And I'm leaving here a better man. Yes, I'm leaving here a better man.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
There he is. I can see Donald J. Trump getting out of his helicopter on the helicopter pad, walking in to do his show, The Apprentice. I loved that show. I thought it was kind of funny.
You're fired.
Lance just shared something with me that I have to share with you because it is
We'll
just
get to the lottery
so
in just a
Trump.
second. Yeah, you got to read this one first.
I
So.
do. So this just posted from President Trump. I predict that Representative Thomas Massie will go down as the worst Republican congressman in the long and fabled history of the United States. Congress, even worse than crazy Liz Cheney, crying Adam Kinzinger, and Marjorie Trader Brown. Yeah, well, you know her name's Green, but in parentheses he writes, remember, Green turns to brown under stress.
You can't make this stuff up.
They
man.
are all misfits and losers. But Massie, who is running against a great American patriot in the Kentucky primary, will hopefully lose big. I love Kentucky. Signed, President DJT. I just love that. My gosh, he just says what he says. And you can say what you want about it, like it or love it, hate it or love it, whatever you feel about it. The man says what he thinks, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he says the things out loud that most people are kind of scared to. And they in many cases, probably scared to even think for fear that somebody's listening into thoughts. But he doesn't care.
No.
He's going to say what's on his mind. And whether you like it or not, it is a refreshing turn from the type of politics that we've been used to for many, many decades, and that is kind of the good old double, they tell you this and do that.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm just now looking at this. This is, of course, when we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that is the Georgia race. We know that she stepped down. She resigned. She stepped out of that after all of that went on. And now there's going to be a special election to fill her seat. Let's see what it says. She's in the 14th Congressional District. It is going to a runoff next month. The seat in northwestern Georgia was left vacant by Greene. She stepped down at the beginning of January, quitting Congress. The special election ended in a runoff yesterday between Trump-endorsed Republican District Attorney Clay Fuller and retired Army veteran Sean Harris. The GOP clings to a razor-thin 218 to 214 majority in the House, as you know. So these races are important and making news for a lot of reasons, but we're going to keep our eyes on that. That, of course, will be coming up next month in Georgia.
We better read some lottery. Or
I was just going to say,
the
we got some
natives will get
lottery.
restless.
We got some lottery to do. This morning's hour with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, as you know, if you have one. And if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide you a full range of employer services plus custom plans. It's just to fit you. You can call them today or go to MWGEmployerservices.com. Did you buy a lottery ticket at all?
No, I did not.
No
No,
lottery
thank
ticket.
you.
All right, let's take a look real quickly. Lottery America, no jackpot winner again. So the estimated jackpot for tonight is, almost $18 million, $17.86 million. If you cash it out, that's just over $8 million. Powerball, no jackpot winner. The estimated jackpot for tonight is $58 million with a cash value of $26.8 million. The double play numbers for Monday, we're going to even go through those numbers. Let's look at the Mega Millions jackpot. There was a winner. A ticket sold in Illinois matched all 5 white balls and the mega ball to win the estimated $533 million. That Mega Millions jackpot. Cashing it out, gosh, that's still a lot of money. $244 million. The estimated jackpot for Friday coming up Friday the 13th, by the way, March 13th, it resets to $50 million with a cash value of $22.9 million. No millionaire winner from Millionaire for Life. Mississippi Match, no jackpot winner. That estimated jackpot has grown to $80,000 for tonight. So that's pretty exciting, too. Recent winners and the cash for winners, a Jackson man won $4,474 on a ticket from Circle K in Jackson. A Columbus man won $5,000 on a ticket from Love's Travel Stop. Oh, that cowboy hat of yours, Lance, would be so great at Love's Travel Stop today.
Yeah, I think you could probably get one of these at Love's. Yeah.
They probably could. That's from store number 848 in Sandersville. Players from Starkville and Gulfport each won $1,000 on tickets from Down the Hatch in Starkville and from the Shell Station in Long Beach. Players from Carthage and Canton each won $1,250. On tickets that they bought from the Kosciuszko and the Z Mini Mart in Canton, and you could see
boy, that pollen is working, isn't it? Injected into my veins.
Aren't enough drugs in the world
Injected into my
kick
veins.
this yellow pollen. We had a trucker, Joey, send a message earlier today saying that his truck is now yellow.
Yes.
So he's driving down the highway in yellow. And I had a box of tissues here yesterday. Somebody took them, so I'm back to the roll of toilet paper.
I see them over here. They hid them from you in the front corner.
They took them away from me.
They did.
So thank God for toilet paper.
Yes.
Just a reminder, coming up next, Fox News, followed by SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then we're going to be looking at some of these election results right here in our home state. I don't sound like her, but I am Linda Allen, filling in for Richard Cross this morning on SuperTalk Mississippi. Happy Wednesday, hump day to you. Country day here at SuperTalk FM.
Your home for
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Oh, you can tell my lips and tell my fingertips they won't be reaching out for you no more. Don't tell my heart.
Good morning and welcome back to Super Talk Mississippi. I'm Linda Allen, filling in for Richard Cross this morning from the Element Wealth Studios. It's good to have you with us today. It is the day after election. Coming up this hour, we're going to be talking a little about the results in Mississippi. I don't think there's any big surprises here. We hadn't expected anything too big. We're not seeing anything too big. Cindy Hyde-Smith, of course, in the Republican Party, running against Sarah Adlaka. Cindy Hyde-Smith coming away with a big victory here. 80% of the votes, 80% of the precincts in, 125,000 votes, 125,557 to 29,806. The Democratic primary, looking at that. Scott Cullum went away with that race with 73% of the precincts reporting with over 105,000 votes compared to Priscilla Till right behind him at 26,000 votes. So quite a big difference there. In U.S. House District 1 in the Democratic primary, Cliff Johnson wins over Kelvin Buck, 17,879 votes to 10,234 votes. The Republican Party primary, Trent Kelly was running unopposed, so he's standing in that position. In District 2, Benny Thompson, Evan Turnage put up a huge fight. Lots of campaigning, really got out there, grassroots effort. Benny Thompson, the incumbent, and as we were talking about yesterday, and we've been talking about, it's pretty hard to unseat an incumbent in Mississippi. 61,000 votes for Benny Thompson, 8,914 votes for Evan Turnage. In the Republican Party, Ron Eller beat out Kevin Wilson with 12,554 votes compared to 12,112. In District 3, Michael Chiriato is uncontested. Michael Guest, the Republican candidate, also uncontested there. In the Democratic Party, Jeffrey Holm beats out Paul Blackman and D. Ryan Grover, bringing in over just under 11,000 votes. And Mike Ezell in the Republican Party beating out Sawyer Walters, 39,345 votes to 7,443. Lots of numbers in there. We're going to break some of that down a little bit later this hour and talk about what that means for Mississippi, any changes that we see in the future. I think, again, this is representative of what we continue to see, and very sadly, it shows poor voter turnout. We were expecting poor voter turnout, and unfortunately, that is exactly what has happened. And so we really want to get people to get out there. We've got the midterms coming up. They are so important, and everything that's going on in the world will impact the midterms. We know that the economy is the number one thing we as Americans take a look at. Gas prices a little bit, changing a little bit. We are seeing a drop in oil prices. On Monday, the oil price of a barrel of oil was up to $120 a barrel. It's back down a bit now to $91. So in the next couple of days, we'll be looking to see what will transpire with that, what's going on. It's really kind of, Lance, it's hard to take a look at what's going on in another world, basically, because we watch it on the news, we read it in the news, we talk about it, but we're not actually there to see it. And for our men and women who are going overseas and are involved in this, we salute you and the dedication and the work that you've given. So more on that coming up a little bit later on this hour. The other key thing that we're watching through for this morning is weather. We could see some severe weather coming through Mississippi, through the coastal area. We're looking at some parts of Mississippi, central and northern Mississippi, midday today throughout the night. On the coast, we're looking at later tonight into overnight hours. Now, again, living in Mississippi, you know very well that can change in an instant. Those storms can move. They're very fickle. They can go in a lot of different directions. And so we're going to be watching that and seeing what could be coming up with that. Our primary election coverage, by the way, if you need all the results and you want to look at the complete breakdown, you can go to our sites by going to supertalk.fm/elections. Or on the SuperTalk app. You can go to our sites. You don't have to pay for anything. It's all free to you. The latest election results, all the news from across the state. And you can follow us, of course, on Facebook and X at SuperTalk News. Speaking of X, we're seeing a lot of candidates today and a lot of Republicans and Democrats going at it. This just in, Lance shared this with me. He's been watching the lines today from Representative Derek Van Orden. If Trump said oxygen was good, you'd have a bunch of Democrats running around with plastic bags on their heads. It's part of the Trump derangement syndrome. It's just crazy. I've
never really seen anything like it, though, in my life. To be so just whatever. If he says it, it's bad. Now, I don't agree with everything he says. Obviously, we talk about this stuff every day. But, yeah, I mean, I've never seen a group of people so adamantly opposed to one thing. No matter what it is, it's just got the name Trump on it.
Yeah. Did you happen by any chance to see the Bill Maher clip with Adam Schiff? It's fascinating. So Bill Maher reads a quote to Adam Schiff, and it's about war, basically. And he says to Adam Schiff, "Is that clear? Does it make it clear, the statement that he makes?" And Schiff goes, "Yes, it's not clear at all. We don't understand it at all." And then Bill Maher pulled one on him and said that was a statement made from President Obama back in the day. So yeah, and I think I don't know that it's good. I was brought up in a very polite world. I was brought up as a kid who, you got spanked if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, that if you went to a restaurant and you were not behaving, you didn't go back to a restaurant for a very long period of time. So it was a very different time. But now, and especially with President Trump, he has opened the door for all of this rhetoric because he dishes it out. He takes it and then they dish it out back. And a polite society? Do we live in a polite society? Sadly, I think we're losing some of that. And of course, it's been coming for quite some time. And, Lance, you mentioned it in the last hour. Trump just says what many of us think. I don't agree with him all the time. I think sometimes he oversteps the presidency. I think that there still should be a sense of decorum. There still should be a sense of respect. But I think overall, we've lost that. And he sees right through that, and he says what he thinks. And so now we're hearing others say what they think. But, I'm at an age where I am a senior to all of you, most of you. And I've lived a long time, and I'm an experienced. I've experienced a lot in my lifetime. I have a lot of scars and battle wounds to show for it. And I try to change with the times. I try to be open. I try not to be a closed-minded older person in this society where I don't look at the world and see how it is. But I do wish we had a little bit more manners involved. I just wish we were a little bit more respectful of one another. And I think we've lost a lot of that, and I hate to see that.
You hadn't gotten to the point where you go out on the front porch or the yard and just start hollering at clouds. You, cloud, get out of here. No, I mean, they say the old person yelling at clouds. No, I don't think, that's the way it is for most folks. It's just that you see such a polarized society where we live now. Mm-hmm. And it is very difficult for folks with, say, conservative values or liberal values to cross that fence right now for whatever reason. And it's been building. I think you made a great point there. It didn't just happen with Trump. I mean, come on. Go back to Obama. And I think as we've seen over the last decade and a half, this has been a building thing. It's like a teapot that's about ready to just kind of explode. And hopefully it's the diatribe, the verbiage, the outlet. You hope you don't see pain and suffering or violence and those things as the outlet for those frustrations. I'm okay with people speaking their minds. That's okay. We don't want to get back to the 70s where people are blowing stuff up all the time.
Right.
The Weather Underground and all these crazy things happening that really
it's still happening.
It happened. But there were thousands.
Over.
There were just thousands and thousands of bombings and things. So you hopefully, the venting is good in a way where you're not holding something in, and you go find some other outlet for it.
But I think there's a way to say what's on your mind without being mean.
Oh, I agree.
Or being ugly or being hateful. And, I covered, when Barack Obama was running for the presidency, his first run, I covered that. And Mississippi was one of 3 locations in the country where we had debates on a college campus. And it was on the campus of Ole Miss. And I was sent up there to cover the debate. And John McCain was running against Barack Obama. And I grew up in a time of the Edward R. Murrow era where you never showed what your political stance was. You never made it known to anyone. And you reported what you reported, and that was it. You mentioned Obama, and I think that's when it did change. I can remember in the newsroom, I worked in Mississippi. I was here in central Mississippi working in a TV newsroom. And I grew up with that philosophy and was not allowed to say anything. And if I were to say anything that was somewhat conservative, I got ugly looks. And so, times have changed. Times they are a-changin'. We'll be back with more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
No, I was going to say, do you think that as things swing, as we see that pendulum swing, does it come back to center ever, or do you just continue to go further left
I don't think you go
right?
back. I don't think you go back.
You don't go back. So
unless it just all blows up and we start back at the beginning, right? We've seen those apocalyptic movies, right?
Well, you hope, that's kind of where I was going.
I hope we don't get to that.
Yeah, do you think this is a creative venting where at some point the pressure's relieved, you kind of swing back, and in your point, you're saying, no, we're not coming back.
I don't know.
We're going.
I can remember in the newsroom the night that the inaugural ball for President Obama, the newsroom was mostly of young people, mostly of minorities, and they were crying because they were so happy. And yet I wasn't allowed to show my opinion. That's when the time changed for me. I realized times had been a-changing. It is almost 7:17 on SuperTalk Mississippi. Lance and I here with you. We'll be right back with more.
White socks and blue ribbon beer. No, we don't fit in with that white collar crowd. We're a little too rowdy and a little too loud. But there's no place that I'd rather be than right here with my redneck white socks and blue ribbon beer.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
With a call, but don't you wish that I'll hide in sorrow when I may lay right down and
And you're listening to Super Talk Mississippi. Good morning to you. Richard Cross taking the day off, a couple of days off during spring break. I'm Linda Allen, filling in for him. Good to have you with us this morning. Of course, it's the day after elections. Did you get out and vote yesterday? I know a lot of you didn't, because the numbers aren't very good. They're not good at all. Former U.S. Attorney and current chair of the Mississippi Republican Party is with us this morning, Mike Hurst. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Linda.
How are you? You brought your beautiful daughter, Eliza, with you today.
I did. Eliza's out of school this week, and she said she wants to go to the radio station with
Well,
Dad.
That's great. She probably would have wanted to go to the beach, but Daddy had to work, right?
I may or may not have bribed her with Chick-fil-A this morning to get here to the radio station. So,
Oh, is that your favorite, Eliza? Yeah. I don't know what it is about the phenomenon with Chick-fil-A. I mean, it amazes me, the crowds and the lines. And I go to Florida quite often for business, and there are lots of Chick-fil-A's in Florida. They're not like they are in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't have the lines that you sit in, you wait for a chicken sandwich and some waffle fries.
Well, and your experience at Chick-fil-A is always positive. And I said, if we could only, have Chick-fil-A run the government, with better service, better quality, friendlier service, it would be great.
Managing the money better,
right.
so it's not so expensive, right?
Yeah.
Quality,
that's right.
but not so much money.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great. So we had elections yesterday, and I was talking about the numbers a little bit. We haven't gotten final in as percentage-wise, but Mike, it's really sad. It just seems like Mississippians just don't, and of course it's a national trend, but Mississippians just don't get to the polls.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, right? In presidential election years, we have a very uptick swing, but in off years, like a midterm election, 2026, obviously we're going to have a down year. But yeah, you're right. When you have 15 to 20% of the electorate who are eligible to vote only come out to vote, that is very disappointing. And let me tell you, the Mississippi Republican Party, we did our part. We sent out text messages. We did text banking. We coordinated with all of our county chairs throughout the state to try to make sure we got the message out to each and every county. And still, you only get 15 to 20%. It's hard.
And that's what we're looking at, is maybe 15 to 17% this time.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. So.
That is so frustrating. And Michael Watson was with us yesterday, and he was talking about that it really is an incumbents race, that in Mississippi it's pretty hard to unbeat an incumbent. Is that part of it, because people just don't come out to vote?
Yeah, I don't know. We've become so conservative over the last number of years, and I think there is some voter apathy out there. I think we have gotten comfortable, and I continue to preach as I go throughout the state that we as conservatives, we cannot be comfortable. We cannot be apathetic, because right now what we're seeing is national Democrats are spending huge amounts of money. I'm talking millions of dollars. Brandon Presley in 2023 spent upwards of almost $13 million in the gubernatorial race against Tate Reeves, against an incumbent.
That's a lot of money.
And right now you have Chuck Schumer talking about putting $10-20 million into this Senate race come in the general election in November. And the reason they're doing that, Linda, is because next year we'll have our statewide elections where we'll have an open seat in the governor's office, open seat in the lieutenant governor's office. And then after that, in 2028, we'll have an open seat in the presidential office. And so I think national Democrats want to try to basically turn over our seats in Mississippi, take those back. They haven't had I don't believe they've had a Senate seat since the 80s here in Mississippi. But if they can do that, they think that's a ripple effect that could continue throughout the nation.
I'm reading some of the listener comments that were coming in, and we're talking about apathy, basically. They're saying it's because people are just tired of politicians. They get nothing done. Not having competitive races impacts the turnout. That's from Walter in Tupelo. Most saying, looking at the vote counts, it looks like an 8 to 9% voter turnout, just pitiful. And I think that, what we're seeing now, I do think that there's a lack of trust in our government and sadly in our leaders, and many of our leaders. And we're seeing scandals. We're seeing scandalous behavior. I'm not sure. I honestly believe scandalous behavior has always been around. It's just that.
I was about to say, as long as the human race is involved, we're going to have scandalous behavior.
Right? But with social media and now with President Trump, as we were reading some of the comments he's made recently, he's very open about his thoughts, calling people, losers. Do you think that's the way to move forward? And I know it's a tricky spot for you as a Republican and leading the party, because you're supporting Trump and you want to support our president and the presidency, and yet can it be hurting candidates? The MAGA movement, is it a dead movement at this point because of what's happening?
No, it's definitely not a dead movement. I think the conservatives, I mean, you got to remember, and I think most Mississippians remember, the MAGA movement actually started during President Reagan's campaign. I mean, he's the one, President Reagan actually came up with Make America Great Again. President Trump revitalized that in 2015, 2016. But no, I think the heart of Mississippians is making our country great again, making our state great again, making their communities great again. And I think that's one of the central themes of conservatism, is making sure the institutions that we value, whether it's family, our churches, other civic institutions, are protected, because that is the central component of our way of life. I think the Democrats have come after our family. We've seen that. They've come after our churches. We've seen religious liberties under attack. And I think that's the main crux, or one of the main crux of the Democratic Party, is to try to devalue or delegitimize those institutions that we as conservatives value. And if you do that, sadly, it uproots our entire society. And that's why I think, no, the MAGA movement is absolutely not dead. I think people on the Republican side say it sometimes. We may not always agree with President Trump's wording or maybe the tone that he uses, but as a conservative, I don't know how we can disagree with the policies and the things that he's done, and not just his first term with the judges he's put in place, but also in this term, and trying to make our country healthy again, trying to make things work for Americans, putting more money back into their pocketbooks through the big beautiful bill. Things like this is the central component of what we as conservatives think: less government, less taxes, more freedom.
We just read about Clinton is just now getting a brand new Amazon center, taking over, I think it's 99 acres, $750 million project. A lot of people are going to be coming in from other areas. We've seen what's happened in Austin, Texas, and other communities where Californians and New Yorkers and places from other parts of the country that are extremely liberal, major cities, are coming into smaller communities, southern communities with very conservative values, and now those values are changing, and they're voting their way. They're bringing their politics with them. And I look at the South, and I've lived in many parts of the country. I love the South, and we are conservative. And we are more polite as a society. Correct? We say hi to people.
Absolutely.
You go out of town and you say hi to people, and they look like you got horns out of your head, right? But is there a concern within the Republican Party that as we grow and as we see things change, that we're going to be losing more of those values in our state?
I don't really think so, because we are the hospitality state. We welcome folks with open arms. I think Governor Tate Reeves has done a better job than almost any governor we've had in terms of attracting development, attracting new jobs, new businesses coming into our state. You mentioned, Californians, folks in Texas and New York, people coming to our state because they see what is happening. They see the Mississippi Miracle in our education system. They see these jobs that are being developed, and they see the way of life. I mean, I lived in D.C. for almost 10 years, and it was a great experience, but, Dorothy was right. There's no place like home. And coming back here and just experiencing how wonderful our people are, how hospitable they are, how welcome they are, there's no better place to live in America, in my humble opinion. And I think that's why we're attracting so many people.
There's a lot going on right now about who's going to follow President Trump. Of course, he thinks he's going to run again, maybe. But Marco Rubio and, of course, J.D. Vance. And different political views. One much more international, one more on the domestic side. When we talk about J.D. Vance, much more homegrown, kind of a hometown boy kind of attitude. Marco Rubio, I think, has really shown himself to shine with what's been going on, at least in my opinion. I think he really has stood out. What do you see for the future of the Republican Party on a national level for us?
I think the bench is very deep. It's probably deeper than I've seen it in a very long time. As you mentioned, J.D. Vance, incredibly smart human being, very passionate. He gives speeches like President Trump. He can fire up the base. And Marco Rubio, incredible story of his family and the way he has risen up just through the ranks. I mean, and just smart, and the way he's managed the world affairs with grace and with just intelligence. And that's just two. That's just the top two we've talked about. The bench keeps going, but right now I think we as Republicans are in a better position to retain the presidency in 2 years than we've been probably in the last 30 or 40 years.
ICE has been a big issue, also here in Mississippi.
I may know something about that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, that's a delicate situation. my husband and I recently found out that the lady that worked for us for 3 years may or may not be documented. And we felt like we had to let her go. And because we couldn't get any documentation or even anything in the works. And it was a really hard decision because she was like our family. She and her family spent Thanksgivings with us. And I felt like it really put us in a bind, in a pickle. And I think others are like that around here. And we see in Mississippi, we have a lot of Hispanic workers here. After Hurricane Katrina, we invited people from everywhere to come down and help us rebuild New Orleans in that area. And so I want to talk to you more about that when we come back. We're talking to Mike Hurst with the Republican Party. We'll have more after this.
From the Seabrook.com.
With Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, oh, sorry once again.
It's Hump Wednesday. Hump Wednesday means country day for Lance in the studio. He loves playing that country music, and he's got his cowboy hat on. I wish I had a hat for everybody in the studio. Next time I'm going to bring them all. We're going to all have hats, Lance.
Pass them out like candy.
Yeah, pass them out like candy. I love that. And we'll pass out some candy, too. Sugar-free, of course. We don't want to add to our obesity problems. Not ours personally, just, we have a problem in the state. It's 7:38 on this Wednesday morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Linda Allen, filling in for Richard Cross this morning. Also with us, our special guest this hour, Mike Hurst, the former U.S. attorney and current chair of the GOP. We're talking about a lot of issues concerning the Republican Party. We had elections yesterday. No big surprises in the turnouts. Betty Thompson was a topic yesterday for a lot of our listeners. And Evan Turnage ran a pretty tough campaign, and yet didn't do well at all.
But it's interesting to see that a former chief counsel for Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren running against someone who's supposed to be well respected in the national Democratic circles, someone who led the faux January 6th committee as chairman, to still garner 86% and Mr. Turnage only get 12%. I mean, I think that was a big shock to a lot of folks who wondered why was Chuck Schumer sending down his attorney to run against Benny Thompson, but. Benny has, for whatever reason, he has stayed in there. I don't understand it. We've run a number of Republican candidates and will continue to run Republican candidates against him. But, I think the bigger issue yesterday was seeing the National Democratic Party put money behind and put money out to get Scott Colomb elected, this progressive prosecutor who's been backed by George Soros, who was handpicked by Joe Biden, who has, trial attorney Dickie Scruggs supporting him. This is the guy that the Democrats are putting up in the general election, and I'm excited that Cindy Hyde-Smith's going to mop the floor with him.
You brought your young daughter with you today.
I did.
She's on spring break. And when you look at your child and you think about the future for her, where are we heading with all of this? I mean, it is kind of getting out of hand. It seems crazy. We are more divided as a country than I believe we've been, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah. I don't know if we're more divided as a country than we've ever been, just because I think we know about it more with the prevalence and the ubiquity of social media. I think we are, it's nonstop. It's 24 hours. Unfortunately, we can sit on our phone any second of the day, and we mostly are glued to our phone every second of the day. I think, again, as sinful, fallen human beings, we've been divided, but this exposes or shows that probably more than any time in history. At the end of the day, though, Linda, when you get folks together and you just sit down one-on-one and you're not behind a computer screen, when you're face-to-face looking at another American in the eye, I do think we agree on more things than we disagree on. And I think if we can just get back to a point where if we do disagree, we can disagree honorably, we can disagree with grace and respect, I think the country will be better off.
In my younger years, I always considered myself fiscally conservative and socially somewhat liberal. I worked in the television industry for almost 40 years, and I worked with a lot of different people, and I got to know a lot of different people, and I didn't feel like, with my Christian background and the way I was raised, that I didn't have a position to judge anybody, right? But I feel like it's changing now, and I feel a little lost sometimes, as I do believe a lot of conservatives do feel, because we still have those values, we still believe in them, and yet we see some of those values not respected and not put on the pedestal like we were raised to put on the pedestal and respect. And so when I look at young people like Eliza, your daughter, I wonder for them the voting process. If we're getting apathetic now, is it because we're getting older as a population, and the new population, the youngers, will come up and change things, or will the degradation continue?
Well, I look back at the 2024 presidential election, and I saw, more enthusiasm, more passion, more excitement from the youth for President Trump and what he was promoting than I've seen in a very long time. So I'm encouraged. Eliza, my almost 9-year-old, is here. She looked at me when I said 9. She'll be 9 next month. But
that counts,
yeah,
Daddy.
It does. But she's actually number 6 in our
oh my
stable.
Goodness! Wow.
So yeah, I've got a lot of experience. My oldest is 25. So as I've seen them progress, and they've seen their mom and dad be involved in politics and stuff, I've seen them get more involved, more interested, more engaged, and it gives me hope for our future generation. I think they are beginning to realize they are going to inherit this country, and our job, I think, as adults, is to leave it better than we found it.
And I think that's what we have to do a better job of, I think, all of us, as we get older, the education and getting the vote out and getting people to get excited about it and show them how important that it is. You and I, during the break, were talking a little bit about, I have a stepdaughter in Nashville, and she and her husband are young people, just had their first baby, very successful at what they do. They have a very good income, yet they can't afford to buy a house. They lease a house right now, just had their first baby girl, and the houses that they live in are old homes in the 1950s, very small, need a lot of work, and people are coming in from out of state. They come to the South, Nashville. They love Mississippi. They love the southern states because they love what we have to offer. And yet now what they're doing is coming in on their street, buying these homes for $800,000 or $900,000. They're not worth that, but they want the lot. They're 15 minutes from downtown Nashville. They're tearing down the homes and then putting 3-story homes up, like basically a townhouse, a brownstone. And so it just does concern me a little bit. I love the South, and I hate that we've seen a lot of monuments come down. How do you not know the future if you don't know your history? And by taking those things down, I don't know that we're doing a service to our young people. And so I think your point is valid. We do need to do a good job. It's a free-for-all on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So
man.
On this side, we got to do a little bit better job.
Yeah. When the other side's leaders are, the socialist Democrat Bernie Sanders and Mayor Mondami in New York and folks like AOC, I'm feeling pretty good about our side. I hope Bernie Sanders and AOC and Mondami keep talking. I hope they keep spewing the mess that is the National Democratic Party, including here our Mississippi Democrats, because I think the message that we as Republicans, we as conservatives have is a message of hope. It's a message of the future. We want to preserve these institutions that have grown our society, made our society what it is, and we want our citizens to be more free. The Democrats want more government, they want more control, and they've never met a tax hike they didn't like. And the Republicans are exactly the opposite. We want our citizens to have more money in their pocket. We want them to be free to pursue their trade, pursue their passion, whatever makes them, that pursuit of happiness that was declared in our national document, the Declaration of Independence. Those things are at the central tenets of what we as conservatives believe. And I think at the end of the day, when Americans look at both platforms, if they're honest, if they just put them side by side, I don't know how you can disagree with what the Republicans stand for.
There's been a lot of concern about the midterms, and economy, of course, plays a big role in that. What's happening in Iran. When does this need to end overseas so that it doesn't impact the midterms coming up? Or is it too late and it will impact already? We're seeing prices, obviously, at the grocery store. Eggs, people keep bringing up eggs. The other side keeps bringing up eggs. We had a bird flu. We had problems, right? That had nothing to do with the economy. The egg shortage and the price of eggs was because of disease. We had problems.
Yeah.
But they keep bringing that up. And the economy is, though, important to a lot of people. Everybody, really. My husband and I were recently only talking about the tax deduction for a car. We were actually talking about we're trading in one of the cars that we still have a loan on and buying a new car so we could take advantage of it. And then we looked into it and realized we don't get that benefit. And when we look at the taxes that we pay every year, federal and state, it's insulting to think that you work that hard and yet you're not able to take advantage of those benefits because we have to always appease those that on the other side, right?
Yeah. I go back to my kids. Once my kids got out of college and they started working and they started seeing that paycheck, and they were like, "Dad, what is all this coming out of my paycheck? What is it?" They may have been a little bit on the moderate to left side, maybe in high school or junior high, and I attribute that to the influence of social media on our children. But once they got into the workplace, once they started seeing that check, and once they started seeing the taxes come out, they're like, "What is going on here? What am I paying these taxes for? What am I getting in return from my government?" And I think that's a legitimate question to have. I think that's a legitimate conversation to have with our young people, because I think one of the it'll never happen, Linda, but one of the best things I think our elected leaders, especially in Congress, could do is let's just get away with the employers paying taxes for the employees. If you start requiring the employees to start paying their own taxes and to see it and feel that pain of actually writing that check to the federal government, I think we're going to have a heck of a lot more Republicans on our side.
Well, and I think we have a lot of youth on our side, too. Nancy Pelosi finally stepped aside. Chuck Schumer needs to do the same. If they have it, I don't know.
I'm praying Chuck stays there. I mean, it's only upside for us. The more Chuck talks, the more he's on TV. I mean, please send the youth over to our side. So,
but it is true, right? Yeah. And I think we do have some exciting youth coming up. And you look at J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. To me, they're young and they have new ideas and new ways to do things. And I think we as a state are going to have to look at creative ways to stay viable. Florida is right now looking at eliminating property taxes.
Right. And look at what Charlie Kirk built with the youth. I mean, it's incredible.
Look at the Christian movement that is taking place. Mike Hurst, thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure. You and your daughter have a great day today, and your 5 other kids.
That's right.
My goodness, that is a handful. You are contributing to the American dream.
I'm married well.
It's 7:48 on SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm Linda Allen filling in for Richard Cross this morning. Good to have you with us.
Neon sign on Highway 49. Shut the engine down, took a look around. Then I stepped inside. I asked that bouncer where I was. He said, "Son, you're at Bill. Honky tonk picking, line dance kicking, razorback sticking, barbecue chicken, laundromat bar and grill."
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm just laid up here in our country state of mind, catching these fish like they're going out of style.
That might be a good day to go out fishing today. A little sticky out there, but it's going to be warm before those storms might possibly roll in. We are watching some storms developing, and right now just kind of on alert. We could see some storms moving through central Mississippi sometime around noon on into the evening. On the coast, we're looking at maybe 9 or 10 o'clock tonight on overnight. So pay attention. You can keep it right here. We'll keep you up to date. Of course, you can always have your weather radio nearby. That's always good to have. And as we talked with Scott Simmons yesterday from MEMA, always have supplies ready because you just never know. In Mississippi, we can get hit with something out of the clear blue, right? You don't think it's going to happen. Look at Katrina. My gosh, we never thought Katrina was going to hit us, and sure enough, it did. Are you a Star Trek fan, by the way?
The original, yeah. I grew up watching the James T. Kirk Stardate 16495.
Oh, look at you. Well, think about this. Back in 1964, on this date, Gene Roddenberry, he turned in his 16-page document that was the original script for the original Star Trek.
That's awesome. And I lost interest as they went away from the gold uniform leotard. I love the old, 60s gold, back in had the little Star Trek, the fleet symbol on it. And I mean, Shatner, are you kidding me? What a cast.
Oh,
original
yeah.
group. You couldn't have put together a better grouping.
There was a Comic-Con many, many, many years ago in Huntsville, Alabama, when I was working there, and of course he had passed by this time, but his wife was there. She did a lot of these things where she would just kind of perpetuate what he wanted. And I think what's so fascinating about it is people think of it as just a TV show or a cartoon or now movies, but his whole idea back then, I think about 1964, was to integrate races, to show that we're all different and that it's okay to be different, and that living in a different world was a good thing. And so when you start looking at it through those eyes and what his concept was and what he really wanted out of it, it's pretty profound. And so I love Star Trek. I just think it's, and Shatner, oh my gosh. I mean,
what a dude.
Boston Legal was one of my favorite shows. He was so incredible in that. And I just love it. And his commercials, he's just a classic character. But anyway, Instant Replay, we were talking about sports earlier.
Well, who was your favorite character on the Star Trek original?
I met her one time and she wasn't very nice, but I loved Hulan.
Was that the
what was her name?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now too. I'm going to have to look real quick. I should have looked at that.
Now, the Wrath of Khan. That's the best Star Trek movie to me, because you have what is it, Ricardo Montalban with a mullet all jacked up. I mean, you wouldn't have ever thought of seeing him in that role, but man, what a job there. And I love the old earwig, that they tortured him and put the little earwig.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Chekhov, I think that's a great one.
Uhura is who I was thinking about. I'm so sorry.
Trying to say that.
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, DeForest Kelley. Remember DeForest Kelley?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Oh, George Takei. Mm-hmm. He's a character. My gosh, he has continued to be quite a character.
Yeah, he's pretty, outside of Shatner. I mean, he's the one that has the most comic appeal.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. Oh, he's a spicy character, isn't he?
He's funny.
Yeah. And so that's kind of hard.
And the way he speaks, too, has something to do with that. He is this a little talking, he has a very drawn-out way of saying things. I don't know. He's got a comedic way to him.
Well, and if you know anything about him, his life is kind of a comical circus as well. So, and he's never been shy of that. But, what a great show. But anyway, 1964, that was quite a long time ago. Also on this date, Instant Replay was created. Do you like Instant Replay? When you're watching a football game, do you like that?
I liked it to be right. I like the call to be right at the end of the day. But no, I don't like it that it takes so long. And there's so many, as you've gotten better with technology, you get down to even more frames and, it's the blade of grass or whatever. It's too detailed a little bit. I wish we were able to make a quicker judgment. In many cases, you see it in baseball and football a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, either way, I just want the call to be right, and I don't want kids to go out there and lose games because of poor officiating or the officials, make bad calls and not have a check and balance behind them. But at the end of the day, no, I don't like the slowness.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I think it makes it kind of fun because then you got everybody's all tense and waiting and trying to figure out what's going to go on. But I don't know. In sports, things have changed too. I mean, you think about racing. Whatever sport is your favorite, helmets and things that have come about that have changed because of safety, drags on the back of cars. And I grew up with IndyCar racing, and then came to the South and got really into NASCAR racing. And now I'm learning Formula One. I'm learning to fall in love with Formula One.
Formula
Formula who?
Formula 1.
Yeah. But that's a lot of fun, so I enjoy that.
My grandfather had a Chevrolet Oldsmobile dealership in McGee, and I was he had already retired and owned the building when I was a kid, so I got to go up there a lot in the shop and learn. But he would, I think some of his employees dirt track raced a good bit, and one of our listeners sent us a beautiful picture of the Fagan Chevrolet car in a dirt track race in South Mississippi. It was a hard track, but it was so cool to see because it was from like the 50s.
Yeah.
And somebody sent that on our text line. I want to tell them again, thank you so much for digging that out. Yeah.
Dan in Hattiesburg writes us and says ACC football does instant replay right. So maybe the NFL and some others can take it.
Will they give you a beer while you wait?
Oh, no. Oh, there you go. See, that makes fans happy, right? Well, it's time to get up and go to get a beer. You're listening to Super Talk Mississippi. I'm filling in for Richard Cross this morning. Good to have you with us. Today we have more coming up on the next hour right here on Super Talk. Coming up next, Fox News, followed by Super Talk Mississippi News. We'll see you after the break.
Rosanna's down in Texarkana wanted me to...
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
I think we all need an angel to watch over us these days. Good morning. It's 8:06 at SuperTalk, Mississippi. Hey, just a reminder to you, you can watch SuperTalk on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, C Spire TV, and YouTube. You can watch SuperTalk Mississippi on your computer, your mobile device, anything that you want to talk about and you want to see. Just go to supertalk.fm/connect, and you can get all of our shows, everything we air, we put on there for you so that you can catch it anytime that you want. I'm Linda Allen filling in for Richard Cross this morning. A little bit of a pollen parade over here on my side of the desk. Hopefully you're not suffering from any sinuses or a Dayquil attack. One of the listeners wrote in and said she talks so fast. Yeah, a little bit of a Dayquil high this morning. Good to have you with us today. Hey, I saw something that I thought was somewhat interesting. It was back on this date in 1789 that a French-American artist named Pierre-Charles L'Enfant and Benjamin Benneker laid out their plans for Washington, D.C., to see what it looked like. The whole map of how it is. And if you've ever been there, it's a pretty fascinating grid of how you get around. And if you've ever been to Washington, D.C. in the still of the night or an early morning, when it's pretty still throughout the city, there's still an energy and a power that you feel. And it's undeniable. I worked in D.C. for a period of time, and I can remember being with my photographer early in the mornings, 4 or 5 in the morning, driving right past the White House, and nothing's going on. You know, people are asleep in that building, and yet the power is remarkable about our government and just America in general. Gregg Harper is our guest this morning, the former congressman from the Mississippi 3rd District. Good morning, Greg. How are you today?
Linda, so good to be with you, and it's a great day, and I love hearing your first deal talking about L'Enfant, who designed the city grid. And if you've been in our beautiful Capitol in the Rotunda, there's a white dot right in the middle of that floor on the Rotunda, and that's the center point of the grid. And of course, inside that incredible dome, it's just you think about what's taken place, certainly in the last 250 years, but certainly since the Capitol's come up. It's just remarkable, isn't it?
It is. You know, everyone loves the Washington Monument and the mall. There's so many beautiful things that are there. I always have loved the Jefferson Monument, because when you stand in there and the echo that takes place and just the power of that, and of course Lincoln, you can't deny the Lincoln Monument, but
that's right.
We forget so much about where we've come from. I'm old enough to remember 1976 when we were celebrating a birthday then, and then now to look at a 250th birthday. We take our freedoms for granted, and I think particularly today, when those of us are waking up and starting a new day, it's the middle of the week, and we're turning on the news, and we're hearing about gas prices surging, and we're seeing what appears to be a war. I know that technically no one wants to call it a war because of schematics, but it is a war. That's what's happening. We're warring with another country, it is hard to look at where we've come from and think, my gosh, we're back here again. But it's important for us not to forget where we've come from and where we still have yet to go, don't you think?
Oh yeah, look, it's you always wonder, okay, are we teaching our children and our grandchildren the real history of the country and showing them these things that are just, monumental, and they're so moving. And that's why I love the old statues in the Capitol, that each one of them tells an incredible story. And so I'm just so thankful for that. And I still get to do a lot of Capitol tours, and I love taking groups into the Capitol, and some on their very first trips. It's kind of a stunning experience to get to do that.
So many people, we're talking spring break for a lot of folks this week and the next couple of weeks ahead of us, and so many want to go to the beach. And I love the beach, don't get me wrong. It's my favorite place. It's my joy place in the world. But I do think that we need to spend more time in our own country and look at what we have. And because geographically we're so diverse and so beautiful, our people are so different, our dialects, our foods. But to go to the nation's capital, and I encourage so many people to go, and I think a lot of people don't even bother to go. They see it on the news, but you can't feel the power of what is there and what takes place there unless you actually step onto those streets and look around you.
Yeah. Every state legislature selects their 2 statues to be in the Capitol complex somewhere. Believe it or not, the newest statue in the entire Capitol is by the state of North Carolina. It's a statue of Billy Graham. And it's just, remarkable. You see that down in the crypt on the first floor, and it's got John 3:16 on one side, John 14:6 on the other, and he's there with an open Bible. And my wife Sydney and I got to attend in the Capitol when he lay in honor. And of course, everybody knows the stories about the simple pine boxes that he and Ruth were buried in, those caskets that were made by prisoners in Angola. And so, you see just so much there. And one of probably my all-time favorite statue is John Peter Frederick Muhlenberg, who was the brother of Frederick Muhlenberg, the first Speaker of the House. And the scene that's depicted, he has been preaching his farewell sermon in January, not July, but in January 1776. And he has preached out of Ecclesiastes chapter 3. He's gotten to verse 8 where it says there's a time for war and a time for peace. And at the end of his message, he doesn't, go to the back and hang his robe up. He walks in front of the pulpit, undoes his robe to show that he's preached that farewell sermon with a full military uniform and battle sword by his side. They begin to sound drums in front of the church, and 300 men join him that day. And that's the beginning of Virginia's 8th Regiment. It's just full of stories like that through the Capitol. And so if you haven't been, to any listeners, you got to go. It's worth the trip, and you'll never regret going.
And it's also very sobering. I mean, we talk about freedoms, and obviously the Vietnam Monument, the wall that is there, it is awestruck. You look at that and you realize that the men that have died. I love the Korean Monument. I think it's very, especially at night, it's very eerie. If you haven't seen it, you can look it up, or if you've been there, it is soldiers in a rice paddy, a rice field, and at night it's lit from below, and it's very eerie. I hate to use the word creepy, but it is, because you realize that these were young men at the time serving, just as we have young men and women serving now. And those freedoms they fought for and died for. And we say that all the time, and it's such a cliche, but it is so very true. And I think we have to remember what was given for what we have today.
That's right. And I agree on the Korean Monument. It particularly in the evening hours, you feel like you're in the middle of the soldiers.
The jungle.
And it's a very well done. And they're every monument has, the World War II memorial, is still one of my favorites as well. And so we're thankful for the rich history we have. We're thankful for the men and women that are serving now. It is, it is a great risk, whether they're in the military or whether, goodness, if you're in law enforcement. I mean, we do pray for those folks every day, and certainly that's that lead-in song by Ricky Skaggs.
You selected that,
somebody's praying for you is the name of that song, and it's a beautiful kind of bluegrass type song. So we need to remember to do that, particularly with what's going on right now in Iran. It is been incredible what we've been able to accomplish in a very short period of time. But, what do we do? What do we do next? So what's going to be forthcoming? If we do this and we wind up with the son of the late Ayatollah as the supreme leader, well, we really haven't accomplished a whole lot. So where's this thing going to end? What are we going to do? We do worry about those gas prices that you mentioned, because what do we know about the midterms? Affordability is the Democrats' big issue that they keep pushing. Of course, they do tend to ignore what happened with Biden, for his 4 years and how the prices went up, but they don't want to talk about that. But we do have a lot of things that are interconnected right now. And of course, what's going on in Iran is not just impacting Iran. It's impacting the whole region. They're attacking their Gulf states, neighbors indiscriminately. The amount of missiles being fired, as you know, Linda, is a lot less than it was, when it began, and continuing to go down. But we do have to remember that, communist China is looking at what's happening here. They have their eyes set on the free and democratic country of Taiwan, that they want to reunite with. Well, they've never been united with them. How do they reunite? They've never occupied that island. And then look at with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, all of this is sort of interconnected, because When you have totalitarian regimes like you do in Russia and like you do in communist China, they're observing this. And the big winner, look, hats off to Donald Trump for having the courage to do certain things. His first term, the world was going to end when they moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So every president had said they would do it and didn't, and until Trump did it his first term. And then look at what he's done here with, going into Venezuela, what he's doing in Iran. Our stature on the international stage is probably at an all-time high today because of his decisions and I think courage.
We're talking to Gregg Harper. We'll have more with him when we come back here on Super Talk.
I fly a starship across the universe divide, and when I reach the other side.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I can hear 'em, they're buzzing, and I ain't done nothing since I woke up today.
How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, and have nothing to say?
Ah, sing it, Emmylou.
Make me an angel.
What a beautiful song. Some of the songs, they never die, do they? They just have such great legs. We're talking this morning with Gregg Harper. He kind of got us on the angel movement this morning with his selections, so we appreciate that. Want to talk with you about the new Homeland Secretary that's been tapped to replace Kristi Noem. And many of us have seen him as a commentator on news. He actually had a talk show, television talk show some time ago, home improvement show many, many years ago. His qualifications, is he ready to step into these shoes? And it's a tough place to be right now because he's going to be highly scrutinized no matter what kind of great job he does, don't you think?
Markwayne Mullin is an incredible pick. I had the privilege of serving with him in the House. Everybody likes him, trusts him. He's somebody that I think is ideal for this position because he understands the way everything goes. And, one thing about Markwayne Mullin, and you probably have talked about it, but January 6, 2021, when we had the problems in the U.S. Capitol with the protesters, there was a picture from the floor of the House with the back doors of the House floor where the president would come through for State of the Union was broken out. There was a protester whose face was up looking through the glass that was broken. Well, there were two plainclothes officers with their guns drawn, pointed at him, and Markwayne Mullin is in just a plain white shirt. His suit coat is off, and he's telling the guy, said, you need to get back. You're going to get shot. You need to go on. And what folks didn't realize at that time, before Markwayne Mullin got in politics, he was a mixed martial arts fighter. So I think he was sort of wanting the guy, come on in, we'll talk a little bit. So if you're in a fight, he's the guy you would want on your side. But this is a difficult thing, Kristi Noem is now in some, imaginary position now.
The Shield. I envision her as Wonder Woman or the Shazam with a click of the bracelets. It's just, I don't know. I'll keep my mouth shut. Keep on going, sir.
I served with her in the House as well. And I think that, it was just I think people did get a little fed up with her self-promotion tour on all the DHS commercials and films. And it was a little bit much. And I think that may have been her undoing there. But I do think Markwayne Mullin, who, by the way, was very, very good friends with J.D. Vance because they were in the Senate together that, first time. So just pretty remarkable, what was going on. So I think he'll be a great pick, and really, even though he's very conservative, I think I'd be surprised if he doesn't get through Senate confirmation fairly easily.
Does the other side like him as well?
I think that he gets along. Because he shoots straight. He's one that doesn't try to say one thing. Look, he's the same in the room as he is out of the room. So he's not trying to put up some front. And I believe, look, the deal right now is he's coming in a situation where DHS is basically unfunded. We're having, concerns from TSA, which, is a great inconvenience if you're traveling. But the reality is right now, if we're not fully up to speed, that includes the Coast Guard, includes so much stuff for the security of our country. And if there is a problem, let's say an major incident happens while we're in a government shutdown on DHS, Homeland Security, that's going to be at the feet of the Democrats. I mean, this is completely, it's all about, for them, it's all about ICE. And, we had 4 years of just open the borders with Biden and how much harm that's caused our country. And now I wish ICE had done a little softer touch on a couple of times and that no one had died in those things. But look at what the protesters are doing. They want to talk about one family that maybe a child gets picked up, okay? But they don't want to talk about how many illegals have committed horrible acts of crime, violence, murder, whatever it is. Those stories, how we've taken out so many hardened criminals that were here illegally. And, this is, unfortunately, our Democrats have a different view of how to run the country. And this is something you cannot let this go. What are we, 5 weeks into this now, I think? And it's got to come to an end. Thank goodness the rest of the other parts of the government are not in that shutdown situation. So hopefully we can get through that. And Linda, it's really amazing that we are in such a divide with the leadership of this country that the Democrats think that it's okay. You can come in illegally, and we're going to let you vote too. So those are situations you've got to clear up for the security of and the sovereignty of our country.
In Mississippi, we don't hear as many stories as we see on the news in other major cities. I know years and years ago, I did a piece, an investigative piece on what was coming through I-55 through our state, from the coast all the way up. And it was a huge hub to bring people in to other parts of the country, illegals, undocumented workers. And at the time, I was basically told that in most restaurants throughout Mississippi, that the back kitchen was filled with undocumented workers. You didn't see them on the floor serving you, but they were in the back in the kitchen working. What kind of issue do we have with undocumented workers in our state? Is it a big issue or not as much as we see in other places?
I think it varies, by state, by community, what's there. And I think probably from a public standpoint, while we don't believe anybody should come to this country illegally, our biggest concern is what do we do to make sure that those that came through, look, no telling how many terrorists came through that should never have gotten in this country. Where are they? These are the sleeper cells that we hear conversation about. That, okay, what happens there? Will we see other problems at a time when our Department of Homeland Security is down for the most part? It is something. All I know is I always wonder too when I go down Lakeland Drive or 55 and exit how somebody can be out there panhandling for 8 hours, but can't hold down a job for 8 hours. So I mean, there is a work ethic that we need to have instilled in our country for our own citizens.
Yeah, and of course, we know a lot of that is mental illness too, and IDs. Yeah, you've always been a proponent of IDs, and I wonder do you think that played? We see another drop in the outturn yesterday of voters. Do you think that the ID had anything to do with that official ID this time?
Absolutely not. I don't think it had any issue. I don't think any deal. And speaking of yesterday, congratulations to Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. I've never seen an election with an opponent that was called 36 minutes after the poll closed. So, I mean, that's a pretty monumental accomplishment, no matter what's going on. So, no, I don't think. The voter ID situation is something that you don't have to have the real ID. There are several things you can show for your voter identification, and that's something that we've been doing for a long time in Mississippi, and we'll continue. We don't have a problem with voter ID here. We can do that, but we do have a problem. That's why the big battle going on right now in D.C. is over the SAVE Act. And most Democrats support saying that, non-citizens can't vote and that should require voter ID. And then also you have to, cull your voter rolls over time, and you can't have people on there that are, there illegally. So, you've got a lot of improvements you could do there, and hopefully we can get that all squared away before, that's also going to be tied to some of the stuff, the Texas Senate primary with Paxton and Cornyn. Paxton's offered to drop out of the race and drop out of the runoff if they'll pass the SAVE Act. So lots of things. We may have to go back and watch the Jimmy Stewart movie. Mr. Smith goes to Washington to filibuster again, to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're talking about that. They don't have enough for the filibuster, so we will see. Quickly, on DHS, do you think we're going to see an end to this quickly in sight, or is this going to drag out for a while without funding for them?
I think it's going to go on for at least another few weeks, but they need to bring it to an end. They haven't accomplished. Democrats haven't really gained any traction by doing this, and once they see that, that's typically when they back off just a little bit and realize, well, let's go ahead. They've got to have something to claim victory, and their big complaint is over ICE. They think that's it, and of course, that's their only issue on that scene that they've got some argument about.
Gregg Harper, thank you for joining us this morning. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Thanks, Linda.
You have a great day.
Great to see you as well. Have
Thanks.
a good day.
Take care, Gregg. Talking to Gregg Harper today about politics and what's going to happen. And we shall see. Time will tell, right? But a couple more weeks of this. Airports backed up. State parks closed. National parks closed. Not a good time right now. It's 8:31. We're going to take a look at local and state election results with TJ Mitchell coming in from the news department when we come back.
Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down.
From theseabrook.com, weather from the White House to your hometown. This is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Me and my boys got this rig unwound, and we'll come 1,000 miles from a guitar.
Do I see a little two-stepping in there? Is that you, Lance, doing a little two-stepping?
You know it.
With that cowboy hat on? Oh, and a long neck? Good morning to you. It's good to have you with us. It's 8:37 here, almost 8:38 on Super Talk, Mississippi from the Element Wealth Studios, presented to you this morning by Community Bank. Mornings with Richard Cross, always here. Community Bank, more than just a place to manage your money. They're there for you, your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors, dedicated to their customers and to you and your success. Rooted in your community, a member of FDIC. Well, it's a day after election, so the newsroom a little sleepy this morning because it was a long night. Not as long as the midterms are going to be, but it was a good night. JT Mitchell is with us this morning from Super Talk News. Good morning to you.
Hey, are my bags under my eyes a little bit darker?
No, you look fantastic.
Need a cucumber.
Thank you.
Put the cucumbers
But
under it.
I've got some Botox in my purse if you need a little help later on. I just always
hit me
carry
up
it around.
next commercial break, please.
No, you look fantastic. So no big surprises. We still have one race though that we're waiting on.
Yeah, we still have one race. You hit the nail on the head though. No big surprises. Election day is never seamless. That's the fact of the matter. We did get some issues reported at some polls in Hinds and Washington counties. Nothing that is going to change the outcomes of these elections. Something, though, that the Secretary of State will have to work with others to get figured out. It was, in Hinds County at least, the wrong ballots at Christ United Methodist were handed out to some voters. But no election seamless. I heard Secretary Watson come on yesterday with middays, and he said, you know when you have a long period of time between elections because you got to knock off some of the rust when it comes to these polling workers and your own staff at times. But overall, it was a near seamless day. No surprises. That one race that has yet to be called is in House District 2 between Kevin Wilson and Ron Eller. Now, that's the Republican primary. The winner there will face Benny Thompson and independent Benny Foster, too many Bennies, in November's general. And latest numbers, we have 94% of votes counted. Ron Eller has 12,554, and Kevin Wilson has 12,120. And so that's a 434 vote difference. I don't know how many absentee ballots were cast in District 2, the most Democratic district in the state, for the Republican primary. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've heard some rough numbers, and the rough numbers that I've heard will not make up the deficit, and it looks like Ron Eller will get that nomination.
Those absentee ballots, is it till next week that they have to count those?
That's correct. And so Mississippi is a state where if you have your absentee ballot postmarked on or by the election day, and then it's received by the clerk, within 5 business days, it has to be counted.
So Tuesday, I believe, is the date,
yes.
Is it not?
That would be correct. But we'll see. Kevin Wilson, he is the president of the Adams County Board of Supervisors. He's a very successful oil man, and he had a lot of steam, at least on paper, going into this. Ron Eller, on the other hand, he had the Republican nomination last cycle against Benny Thompson. During that cycle, he received endorsements from some big-time GOPers like Tate Reeves. And so Ron Eller has really gotten his name out through the polls. And so right now he has that 50.9% lead over Kevin Wilson, which is a surprise to some within the Republican Party.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people thought Kevin Wilson was going to win. He has an extensive resume. He has a lot of money. But Ron Eller obviously has built up his name ID enough to possibly get this nomination.
JT, when we've talked a lot about Benny. We've been talking about Benny Thompson. You know, a lot of folks thought that Eldridge would do a lot better job of presenting himself, not that he would upset the race, but now we look at the Republican Party and it's almost, are we throwing money away? Because it just seems like someone like Benny Thompson is almost impossible to unseat.
You know, I was actually thinking about that last night because I've covered a lot of these elections, and I can tell you years in advance that Benny Thompson will win. I know it's 2 years between, but the day after he wins, I can tell you he will probably win the next time. That's just fact of the matter. Congressman Thompson has a strong hold on his district. I mean, he is on the way to, I believe, an 18th term, serving since 1993. But this year, as you and I talked about, Evan Turnage came onto the scene as a Democratic challenger. He's young. He's 33 years old. He was educated at Yale. He worked on Capitol Hill as an attorney for Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren. His resume is good.
It's extensive.
But he only got roughly, let's see the latest. He got roughly
It's 12%.
12%. There you go.
It's
that is crazy.
Very low.
Because when it was called, Congressman Thompson had 85%, which I thought was wild. You may have seen it in my recap article last night, and if you didn't listen to us or keep up with us last night, please go to supertalk.fm. We have everything to catch you up. But I wrote in there that some politicos thought Turnage wouldn't necessarily win, but could make waves as one of the more viable candidates to ever challenge Benny Thompson.
That's what surprised me. Great campaign, a lot of ads, a lot of good ads. I don't know that I saw Benny Thompson advertise much of anything.
He doesn't have to.
Correct. And that's the thing, is that, you know, you look at, do we need new blood? And then when you look at the Republican Party, then Ron Eller and Kevin Wilson, and as you said, it looks like Ron Eller, even though it's very, very close right now, I mean, anything could happen, but 94% of the results are in. When you look at that, you just have to ask yourself, the money that's paid in those campaigns, you know, we have to put up people, but it's just it's a ginormous task to try to unseat
I saw a lot of Evan Turnage ads. Really only saw some digital ads for Congressman Thompson, but I knew you would bring up Evan Turnage because you and I talked about how, man, at least on paper, he's a really good candidate. Yeah. And so he issued a statement to us last night, and he said he reached out to Congressman Thompson. He congratulated him on winning the primary, but more importantly, quote, to remind him that securing this support comes with an obligation to exhaust every measure to improve economic outcomes for the people of Mississippi's 2nd District. Unfortunately, when the sun rises tomorrow, that's today, this will still be the poorest district and the poorest state in the nation. That will not change without leadership committed to reversing the brain drain, etc. He issued a strong statement because that's kind of what he's been running on. He said, I've been alive for 33 years. I've lived in this district for 33 years. And personally, me, Evan Turnage, has not seen much change.
I'm looking at the numbers here. So we're looking at 61,000 votes for Benny Thompson, 89, just a little over 8,900 votes for Evan Turnage, and 893 votes for Curtis Williams. 61,000 votes is the most, which Benny got. This is a district that has a population of 710,000 people, according to the census. That's a lot of people that didn't come to the polls yesterday.
Yeah, and you and I tried to get them. A lot of people on this network tried to get them. Secretary of State Michael Watson tried to get them. I cannot fully explain voter apathy. But when you look at District 2, you talk about how many people live there, and then you talk about the small turnout yesterday. In Jackson alone, you know, they got close to 22,000. That's where Evan Turnage is from. Benny Thompson got 18,979. He dominated in the biggest city that his opponent is from.
Yeah, you know, and the thing that's interesting is that, you know, you look at Jackson, Greenville, and Vicksburg, which is part of this district. And according to this, it says that it's the state's only majority African-American district. 64% of the population in this area, in District 2, is black. And Evan Turnage, obviously a man of color, so color was not an issue. I think it's just hard for me to believe that he didn't do better than that when you look at that. And again, it continues to be the poorest state. One of the listeners yesterday or the day before had said, what are the people in the district doing for themselves? And I think that is the hard part about when you live in a poor state. Families, generation after generation after generation gets accustomed to living a certain way with government subsidies, with support, a lot more support than other areas. And they need it, but yet does it create any independence? And I think we're seeing it doesn't. It doesn't create any independence. And is Benny Thompson creating any independence among that district? Or is it the district and the population? Is that the problem?
Yeah, it's a convoluted deal. I listened to some exit poll stuff. As you guys, if you don't know this, we do partner with the Associated Press for election results, because they're the king when it comes to calling races and tracking races. And they provided some exit poll audio. Everybody was pleased with Thompson.
I'm not sure what to say about that. And nothing against Congressman Thompson. It's just that change has to happen. We've been living, again, decades of poverty in these areas. And our capital city, the infrastructure is falling apart because we don't have enough capital dollars, support, property taxes, tax income to come in to keep it viable. And
real quick, I thought Secretary Watson said it right on your show yesterday. Doesn't matter if you're looking at the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. This isn't about Congressman Thompson or about any specific candidate this year, but if you don't like what they're doing, it's up to you, the people, to vote them out.
Change. But as you said, I'll quote you, people are happy with Benny Thompson. That's why they voted. JT, thank you. I know you got a busy day ahead. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Linda.
It's 8:48 on SuperTalk, Mississippi. I'm Linda Allen, sitting in for Richard Cross this morning. Good to have you with us.
Right down to your soul, living on the spotlight.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
Right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Making your way the only way they know how.
I love me some Waylon. Remember the Highwaymen? Waylon,
I played
Willie,
that one earlier, yeah.
Chris, and the gang.
That one came on with Gregg Harper.
I love them. They were so much fun. We've been talking a lot of politics today. I'm a little burned out on politics. How about you?
I'm never burned out on politics. I love it. It's a great game.
It is. There's the point right there. It's a game, right? It's a very expensive game. Thanks to JT for stepping in from the newsroom. And as he mentioned, if you're interested in reading more and getting more details on radio, it's a little hard sometimes because we don't post all the numbers so visually you can see, but you can see them. If you go online, you check out what JT and his team have been putting together. You can get all the results from last night's primary elections by going to supertalk.fm/elections. Or on the SuperTalk app, you can check out our sites, the latest election results from across the state, and you can follow us on Facebook and X at SuperTalk News. I want to leave you this morning with something kind of fun that I found. If you've ever been to Scottsboro, Alabama, then you know about a place called Unclaimed Baggage. Have you ever been to Unclaimed Baggage?
I've not. No.
Oh my gosh. It is
a gold mine.
It is a gold mine. And so what it is, it's exactly what it sounds like, right? So people lose their luggage. Well, let's not say people lose their luggage. Airlines lose luggage all the time, and then they can't find it, or you didn't have it marked properly, so they don't know where it goes. Better now than it used to be, because you can do all that online tracking. But still, every year, bags and bags and bags full of all kinds of things. This company buys the luggage. It's called Unclaimed Baggage, and some of the most unusual items turn up. So, last year at Unclaimed Baggage, Scottsboro, Alabama, just near the Tennessee border, they are an authorized reseller of lost luggage. They actually buy this. And so they have posted their annual report. And they have found some pretty interesting things. You want to hear the list?
I would love to.
I know
the suspense is killing me.
I know the suspense is killing you. So, okay, when you pack for a trip, what do you pack? Clothes?
I hadn't been on a trip in a while, but yeah, clothes.
Toiletries, shampoo, or things like that. Shoes,
stuff, right.
Maybe some electronics, things like that. Well, okay, so they find that kind of stuff. And you can go to Unclaimed Baggage and buy clothing or shoes or things like that. But you could also go there now because last year they collected some very unusual pieces of equipment. They found some bizarre things. A full set of 10-carat diamond grills for your teeth.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A fragment from a meteorite that fell to Earth back in 1576. Somebody's looking for that collector's item. A 1-ounce bar of pure gold from the Perth Mint in Australia. I think if I owned that company, I would just keep that myself. A matching set of samurai swords, a beekeeping suit, the full beekeeping suit, the net, the head, everything, right?
I could use that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, golfers out there, you're going to love this. I don't know the price yet. A set of gold-plated golf clubs.
Straight from Saudi Arabia.
Dubai?
Yeah, Dubai. Only used once.
We always think of Dubai because they have the shopping mall with the ski resort in the middle of it. Do you know that Dubai, though, is not the wealthiest city in the Arab Emirates? Do you know what it is?
Which one is it?
Where's the oil?
Riyadh?
Abu Dhabi.
Okay. I thought you said United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi is the most. So yeah, maybe they came from. Do they play golf over in Abu Dhabi?
I'm sure they do. They build stuff in the middle of that desert and make it work.
Also, you can go out there if you want to go to Scottsboro, Alabama this weekend or on your spring break. They have a fully assembled robotic unit featuring fully articulated joints, electric motors, wiring, and control components.
Now, this wasn't found in a bag, right?
Well, it was in the suitcase.
Okay, really?
Yeah, it was in the suitcase. They also found...
Was that Jin Huing's suitcase bringing it straight from China?
Imagine finding this one. I think must have been. Do you remember? Oh gosh, I just love. Harrison Ford was in the movie The Fugitive. Remember The Fugitive?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
And the guy with the prosthetic arm, that was the big thing, right? Well, they found a powered prosthetic knee joint with an integrated motor. It even has electronic controls and metal housing. So if you need that, you can find that. I'm telling you, folks, if you haven't been, you got to go because this place is like a museum. Even if you don't buy anything, just going and looking, it's just so much fun.
It's a peek into the lives of ordinary citizens and
ordinary people. Yeah, with a 10-carat diamond grill.
Just normal folks traveling around with their robots and
gold-plated golf clubs.
Just normal folks.
Just anything you could possibly think. And the samurai swords.
That's a good one there. I've always wanted two. You don't want one samurai sword. It's like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. You want two of them, right?
Well, the other one would get lonely,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He's gotta have a friend.
Listen, I'm into swords. I Forged in Fire, one of my favorite. In fact, one of the winners, I actually, for one of my birthdays, was given one of the swords. It was a tie sword. It's huge. I love it.
Yeah,
I just love it. Thank you for letting
bring it tomorrow.
You know what?
Need a prop.
But I got to bring some security guards with me. Thanks for letting me fill in for Richard this morning. Lance, always a pleasure to work with you. So much fun. And I'm going to bring my cowboy hat next time.
Please do, yeah. I have an extra if you ever need it.
I've got plenty back at home. Coming up next, Fox News, followed by SuperTalk Mississippi News. Go ahead and have a great day today.
He was a rhino of the litter, but a plenty mean pup. Put Sam on the scent, and he never let up. Spent his nights on the porch, chewing on a bare bone. Now he's underground, and I'm all alone. Well, a good dog on the ground's worth three in the saddle, no matter where you're from. Been many good dog was a friend to a man, but Sam was the greatest one. He was a hound of hounds, he was the wonder of all walkers.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.